Welcome to Magic of My Maps. I'm your host, Dana Bingham Cruz. I am a teaching and learning coach and a Google guru at a K-5 public school building. I am also a Google for Education certified trainer. For this presentation, I have created a companion site, and if you just visit that bit.ly link at the top, you can find it there. Today, we'll be discussing 4 components for enhancing your instruction with Google My Maps. Begin with deciding what your purpose for implementing the Google My Map will be. Will you be using it at the beginning of an instructional unit, during, or at the end of an instructional unit? Decide what your subject, topic, or theme for the My Map will be. And then finally, create learning targets that are tied to standards in your state. Here are a few suggestions on topics or themes for your interactive My Map. You can plot locations in a texture reading and retell the story or provide factual information. You can plot historical locations and recount history. You can plot locations of scientific importance, maybe working on biomes. You can also use My Maps for measuring distance and or area for mathematical concepts. You can also mark locations of artistic importance and do a image walk or a photo walk. You can do a walking tour or create a road trip. You can do a virtual tour of an area anywhere in the world. You can do a unit review of the concepts that you've covered in your instructional unit. You can do storytelling, whether it's factual, historical, or even personal storytelling. You can mark locations of pen pals and include any information you wish. You can mark locations of family or ancestors. You can even do trivia with Google My Maps. Next, think about how you will communicate this My Map to your students and how your students will communicate back to you. Thinking about how you will communicate to your students, how will you introduce the My Map to your students? Will you do a pre-recorded video or will you do a live demo? How will you deliver the content? Will it be in your LMS like Seesaw or Google Classroom? Will you make a Google site for all of the components of the My Map? How will your students communicate their evidence of learning back to you? Will you do it on paper? Will you have them do it in Google Docs, slides, forms, or some other Google app? Next, think about the content that you want to include in your My Map. Think about each pin, what you'd want to name the pin. You can include links like bit.ly or tinyURL in the name or the title of each pin. You can include addresses or even use coordinates. You can include images and videos, and those images and videos will be self-contained. For instance, it's a YouTube video. It will keep the students in My Maps and play the video for them there. It will not navigate them to the YouTube site. Next up, think about how your creation will go. Most likely, you will be storing this in your Google Drive. So you'll want to create a new folder and think of a naming convention for that folder, and then name everything that you create inside the folder with that naming convention. Of course, you're going to want to open up a new Google My Map. Locations and addresses can be housed in a Google Sheet, and then you can import that into your Google My Map. Or you can go straight to the Google My Map and place your pins by hand. Also, in that folder, consider what you will create for student evidence of learning. Will you create a doc to later print out so that the students can do it on paper? Will you create slides that the students will edit and turn back into you? Will you create a form that the students will fill out and then submit to you? Also consider how you are going to store the images that you are going to attach to each pin. You could store those images individually in a folder in your Google Drive, Or you could create your own images using Google Slides. Each slide you then can download as a JPEG or a PNG. Then consider, what about sharing? Will you be sharing this with other educators? Create a teacher hub if so. You can do this in Docs and then publish it to the web. You can do it in Slides and publish it to the web. You can do it in Sites. And then, of course, share the link to that published sharing hub. Thank you for your attention. Once again, I am Dana Bingham Cruz. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at EdTechBing. You also have my email there down below. And don't forget, there is a companion site for this presentation at the bit.ly link you see at the top of your screen.